Hi, Logan Shaw. Welcome to Logan's Story. Today, I want to talk about something very, very near and dear to my heart. My childhood. My childhood has had many ups and downs and turnarounds, to be honest with you. But the reason why I want to talk about my childhood is because it's full of dreams and memories that I cannot ever erase because they're so sentimental towards me. And there's many different things that has led me up to my childhood, to my now adulthood today. I'm 21 years old, going on 22 pretty soon. So there's a lot of things that has built me as the person that I am right now, whether it be a good thing or whether it be a bad thing, whether it's something I have to overcome, whether it's something I have to keep going and make sure it's something that I produce myself into the person that I continue to be onward. So let's talk about 5 things that turned me into the man that I am today in some cases. 1, the idea of family. That is something that I really want to talk about in detail because family is something that I really hold close to my heart in some cases. 2, media. Anything that has to do with film, video games, anything in the industry, media. Let's talk about that. 3, well, it's really anything that goes in the franchise of schooling and friends. Where do you get friends? School. A lot of the time the people I hung out with is why I talk about the things I talk about in this video. 4th thing is franchise. The franchises that made me so obsessed with the idea of the world. You know, like McDonald's, like Disney, like car companies like Mustang, and just a lot of things that just drove me into the kind of the reason I love to work with, businesses and numbers, and I like to learn about these things and stuff. And 5, most importantly, God. So let's talk about this. So the number 1 thing I want to talk about, well, you guessed it. So family. Family is something that I really enjoy talking about because I feel like there's a lot of people who are not blessed with family. So I'm really glad that I have a family that loves and supports me, even though I do kind of moronic things most of the time. Not most of the time, but some of the time. But I've always come out of it because I've had advice from my family to kind of take myself up by my shorts and continue on the path of where I want to go. For instance, I am going to school. I'm also working a full-time job. I'm also doing this YouTube channel some of the time. And all throughout this, my parents have supported me in the way that I've really intended and hoped for, And the idea of having a family that supports you is something that is really, 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 really good to think about. And it's really good to have. You know why it's really good to have? Because there's some families that just don't support their kids. There's some families that just don't support each other. For the same reason, a lot of people don't have families or just walk away from their family because they don't feel loved and supported. Now that's a good thing to have. Love and support. You know why that's a good thing to have? Love and support? Because at the end of the day, you are who you are based on who your family was. You are who you are based on the ideals your parents brought you up with. You are who you are based on whatever may have you throughout the world around you. Why? Well, it's because Ohana is family. Family is Ohana. Forget about it. So yeah, just know that family is something that is heavily regarded in my life because it's really what built me as a person to be as mature and be brought up with the kind of vernacular that I'm speaking to you right now with. Because it's the vernacular I hear in my house a lot of the time. That's something that I really enjoy. Really. The idea of family is something that will always be ingrained in my mind. In fact, my family is out that door right now doing whatever they do in the morning, usually. Now, let's move on to something a little bit more crazy. Let's talk about the idea of media in this world of America and why I love the idea of media. Let's talk about media. The idea of media seems to be ingrained into many people's souls in the American thought, or even all over the world. This idea of TV, video games, phone, the internet, anything that has to do with the ingrainment of entertainment into the psyche is something that is pretty darn amazing. I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of things that we could possibly say build us up, friends, family, but we could say that now, things that build us up are the things we see on TV, what we influence ourselves with, what people are telling us to watch on a daily basis. And well, what kind of media did I grow up with? Well, this. All this stuff. Toon Disney, Disney Channel, Disney movies, anything Disney. I mean, you see the Star Wars stuff in the background. I know it's not, at first, it wasn't Disney, but it is now. But what I'm saying to you is, I grew up with a lot of very nostalgic things that we continue to think is nostalgia now. Even the early 2000s movies was something that I really enjoyed. I mean, even like Home on the Range, even something like the Bambi 2, which is by far one of my favorite animated movies. I know that's kind of a hard thing to hear, but Bambi 2 is my favorite animated movie. Now, these movies shape me into who I am now because I have this sense of childlike wonder still. I go around my house dancing around, making my parents angry, simply because, well, I love to dance, and because I like childlike wonder. I'm very much of a childlike, wonderful kind of ideal man. I'm like a man baby. Man-child, I guess you could say. But the reason why I build myself off of those kind of movies is because I still enjoy making those kind of connections to my everyday life. There's many times where I felt like Jim Hawkins. There's many times where I felt like Milo when I couldn't just catch a break. There's many times where I felt like Chicken Little. Actually, there's most of the time I felt like Chicken Little. But those characters are still something that I enjoy. And now I feel like I'm more like Princess Tiana, you know, and even though that's not, I mean, it was in my childhood, but it's something of those characters, those Disney characters that shape me as a person now, and it's something that I can hold true even to this day. And even other forms of media like horror films, The Dark Knight, any Eddie Murphy movie that I grew up with, those all frame my sense of humor. You know, Eddie Murphy kind of phrase, his humor is what shapes my humor. A lot of Robin Williams humor is what shapes my humor. A lot of Jim Carrey humor is what shapes my humor. A lot of that humor back then is what shaped my humor now. You know why that is the case? It's because they were on. There were reruns of The Mask always on. There were like reruns of the movie Mrs. Doubtfire. There was a bunch of, you know, Robin Williams movies always playing in my house. There was a bunch of Jim Carrey movies always playing in my house. And that's the reason why I have the sense of frame and sense of comedic timing that I do. I mean, I hope I have that sense of comedic timing. Other things in media like video games. Like, I love Rayman. Rayman Adventures is the shit. You know why it's the shit? Because it's a fantastic video game. Simply because it's something that is addicting and simple to play. So simple games are something that I enjoy to play. But, you know, other games like Street Fighter, which is something I grew up with also, and Tekken and Mortal Kombat, all those games I grew up with. But there are also other games that are not even on the shelves anymore. Like this game called Disney. There's this Disney skating game where it brought you into all these different worlds. You got to play as characters and stuff. And it's basically just a Disney skating game, which is pretty BA. There's also a Star Wars game that used to be on the first PlayStation that was just battleships, and you just run them around and they just battled other battleships. It was just amazing. I will never have another game like that ever again, because that game was one of a kind. But media has brought this sense of something in my life. Even now, I'm looking at the screen and I see a Walt Disney World interactive video. And it's a video, it's basically just a vacation planning DVD. That's all it is. That's another thing that shaped me into who I am today. It's something that I really enjoy to watch, and it's something I really intend to watch over and over again. You know why? Not because I have to, it's because I want to. There's a lot of media that shaped me into the person I am, and the reason for that is just because, well, I love it. That's something we need to hold true. The things we watch, the things we put in our minds is something that can shape us for the rest of our lives. And the reason I put those into my minds is because, well, my family never really watched rated R films around me when I was little. And when they did, they'd always told me to get out of the room. So, growing up, when I was allowed to now watch rated R movies, I intended to get a little bit more mature, and therefore a lot of things were differently viewed in the world. than I used to think, or something that was viewed, gradually. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next topic of what made me who I am. So another topic that made me who I am is the idea of schooling and friends. Now, most of the time I made some pretty good friends, but most of the time I was always around friends that enjoyed Gundam, that always enjoyed Disney, that enjoyed very nerdy-like things. This idea of being in a situation where very nerdy-like qualities were being distributed on a grand scale allowed me to shape what I actually set in stone liked. So there's a lot of comics that I like, superheroes that I like, many different things that I enjoyed. The reason for that is because of my friend group. Now, as I kind of moved different schools and began to understand different people in their, environment, I ended up hanging out with just different people of different groups. So I ended up hanging out with people who love sports. I ended up hanging out with people who love computers. I ended up hanging out with people who loved just different ideals and the idea of life. Now, it just comes to show you that I'm a very diverse person. Not just in the way of skin color or religion, I'm just diverse in the very idea of thought. So if people get diverse in the idea of thought before they go in diversity in the people around them, then coming around people who have different opinions than you do will come together with the different skin color. Because diversity in thought is something that is very, very, very looked down upon, I feel, without being said to be looked down upon, because of the reason that people don't like the way other people think. But if we understand the way other people think, then you may have something great on your hands. Diversity in thought is something great, and I really appreciate it. So the friends I hung out with were mostly nerdy, but they were also just diverse groups of people. They weren't the same kind of person every single time. The reason for that is simply because, well, I just was hanging out with different people at different times. I never really had a set group that I was hanging around with. Why? Because I love sports, and I love anything that has to do with science. I love to do anything with, superheroes and Marvel and Disney, just anything, any natural phenomenon in the world, I was just interested in. Like the fact that the Ark, the lost Ark of the Covenant is not found is something that's just mind-blowing to me. That's a phenomenon that I want to learn about. So if I create friends that know something about the Ark of the Covenant, then guess what? I have friends who have a different time frame and different thought process than I do. Because I'm thinking about what can we do to find it. They're thinking all the logisticity behind finding this Ark of the Covenant. And can it actually be found? Probably not. Probably not. In that movie, it's just a movie. But that's this idea. I mean, schooling in general, it just depends on how you take schooling. If you take it seriously, like hopefully I'm doing, I mean, I've slacked off a couple times before, but schooling is something that's important to me. Why? Because it shaped who I am as a person. I was normally getting somewhat good grades in school. I never really got an F on a report card ever in my life. And if I did, I'd be bad. So I was just always on top of things, and the reason for that is because I wanted to make sure I had the right amount of tools to get through in life. The reason I'm still going to school and not working full-time only is because I'm not wanting to work in a job full-time for the rest of my life. And schooling has taught me that I can get places faster and more efficiently if I just stay in the books and continue to do what I love to do. So the mixture of this YouTube channel, me going to school, and the expenses of having a full-time job to pay for things like this come together pretty nicely. So that's all the basis of schooling and friends. Get me? All right. Now, this idea of franchise and business is something that I hold stone to my heart. Clothes are something that make me as a person. Now, I know I dress kind of plain now, but when I was growing up, I used to dress like to a T every single day because I loved the way I looked as a person. I loved the way I present myself to other people. You know why? Because I have this sense of attraction to myself to show to people. And it's not because I'm full of myself. It's just because I have this sense of understanding the way I look is important. Take, for example, Nike. Nike is something that people tend to wear more often than not because of the brand. If you went to off-brands kind of things, I mean, they're cool, but they're not like Nike. It's this whole thing back then with, you know, the whole black culture thing with FUBU. If you didn't have the real FUBU, you know, you were kind of just whack. So it's the same thing with Nike. You know, if you don't have the real Nike, it's not really gonna work. You don't have the real Air Jordans, and screw you. That's not the way I thought about clothes. I usually thought about clothes this way. If it looked good and it felt good, it is good. It doesn't matter if it's a brand name. It doesn't even matter if it's something that doesn't even look like the brand name. It just matters that if it's comfortable and somewhat cheap, then I will enjoy it. I tend to enjoy clothes, and I tend to enjoy looking well. So something like a suit and tie, you know, would be okay on certain occasions. But something like blue jeans, ripped blue jeans, baggy shorts, baggy pants, a baggy shirt, anything that has to do with a sense of making your style known is something that I generally enjoy every single day. Now, it doesn't seem like that in these videos, but there's more than meets the eye. Another thing I want to talk about is this idea of, you know, food. What is the kind of food that I enjoy eating? Well, when I was a kid, I used to love getting Happy Meals. Love it, love it, love it. Especially like after a trip to Disneyland. See that kid? He loves McDonald's too. Especially after a trip to Disneyland, going to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, something of magic. Because it's something that I can continually remember as a kid enjoying. So there's a lot of love in franchises that I directly correlate with my own life. To this day, I don't eat a lot of McDonald's, but sometimes I go down there on memory lane to go to like the Disneyland McDonald's over by Disneyland, or I go even to, there's a Chick-fil-A that I used to go to in Ontario. I don't think it's there anymore, but there's just a little play area right there that I just kind of, you know, I eat lunch. I don't go in the play area like a creep, but I hang out outside the play area and just eat a chicken sandwich and enjoy life because, you know, it's memory lane. Franchises like malls, you know, if I go to South Coast Plaza or Orange, you know, or Ontario Mills, or you know, if I even go to Tyler Mall, that's down the street from where, not down the street, but that's kind of a ways from my house, but still close. Those are all things and franchises that I gave my heart and blessing to, only for one reason only, because I love it. I mean, there's been some franchises that, you know, I didn't understand. There's always franchises that you don't understand. There's franchises that you wish weren't a thing, you know? Same with everything in the world. You just wish there were some phenomenons that weren't a thing. But we're not going to go into that right now. But what we are going to go into is this idea of franchises being there to support people or to give needs to people who need it. Those are great franchises, right? So, let's go into detail of something else. Let's talk about God. God is something, and, well, someone, a being in my life, that's really brought together everything that I've understand about anything in life. Anything. Like the way the trees work, the way nature works, the way science works, the way anything works. Now, I know there's people in this, you know, channel, or people around the world who are probably watching this, that don't believe in God. Now, that's cool. You don't have to believe in God. I'm not saying you should believe in God. But I'm saying in my lifetime, God is someone or something that's really shaped who I am as a person. Reason being is because the people I surround myself with in the church. People who I surround myself with in the church have shaped me to be a man that I hopefully can be to those around me, to those who support me, to those who want to see me get up in the world. Reason being is because, well, hopefully God has seen something in me that I haven't. Now, that doesn't give me the right to say that I'm all right in my head and I have never made a mistake in my life before. That is completely the opposite of what I want to say. I still make mistakes every single day. Every single day. There's no sense of me not making a mistake and having it just blow up in my face. And some of the time it doesn't blow up in my face and I'm wondering what God is doing. And that could just be him saying, don't do it again, or this is going to be a problem. And there's sometimes where God just slaps me in the face and says, don't ever do that again, or this consequence is going to happen. But God has been kind of something in my life that I've been in constant struggle with, but also understanding that he wants me to do something great with my life. Bottom line, okay? I necessarily think that there's something great about God. If you don't believe in him, that's fine. I'm not trying to get on your beliefs. I'm not trying to say you're not cool because you don't believe in God. You need to get with Jesus right now. You can believe what you want to believe. That's the freedom what we have here in America, because you get to believe what you want to believe, right? So my life has just been encapsulated with the idea of God. I mean, I've gone to a private school twice. I mean, I went to a private school in 4th grade, and I went to a private school in 11th and 12th grade. Now, the difference between those two is this experience here was better than this experience. So, did that change my view of God? No, but it opened my eyes to the way God is viewed here and God is viewed here. The actions you put forth in yourself show other people what a Christian is actually like. And what God has shown me a lot of the time is how I should be to other people around me. Now, I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes even in my own family of how I should treat people. But it's something that I continue to understand and grow from. You feel? So, hopefully you got into feel with what I'm going down, what I'm putting down right now. So, yeah. All right. What are you guys still doing here? Look, I know that I promised some people some oranges, but it's not like I can ship them to you. Actually, I promised no one some oranges, so I can't ship them to you. But I can give you a sign off. Peace.